What's up, football fans? After grinding the first few days and completing 3 Dynasty seasons, I'm ready to give you guys my initial impressions. I'm going to briefly go over 5 things that stood out to me over the first few days of gameplay. I hope this provides a little insight for those of you that are getting the game tomorrow. Let's jump into it. The first thing I noticed was something a lot of streamers that got the game early talked about, and that is the gameplay speed. It is exhilaratingly fast-paced, making every game feel like an adrenaline-fueled shootout. Big plays unfold all across the field, leading to high-scoring games where offensive fireworks become the norm. However, this rapid gameplay is a double-edged sword. While your offense can rack up points with ease, your defense faces the daunting challenge of containing the opposing team's explosive playmakers. The thrill of watching your team score is then matched by the tension of defending against relentless big play threats from your rivals. This makes every game a heart-pounding battle from start to finish. Second observation is going to be unpopular with some people, but the game is not perfect. I know a lot of the streamers and a lot of the people who get the game early, you're going to get a pretty biased opinion because they are looking to be partnered by EA. As a small streamer, I don't have those concerns. I'm going to give you the real, unfiltered opinion on this game, and I don't really have anything to win or lose. I don't have anything vested in the game, so my job is, especially for people who haven't purchased the game yet, to give them an honest opinion. That's the integrity of this channel, and that's what I'm shooting to do here. The game is great overall, but there are some things they need to fine-tune. In particular, the sim logic seems broken. And played 3 seasons at 3 different schools, 3 different settings, and every time the sim logic is kind of off. The teams that make the college football playoff, the teams that get beat by other teams that they shouldn't be losing to, really broken. I played Florida State in my Carolina one. You'll see that in my full length gameplay. They already had 4 losses, I think, late in the year, and they were number 8 in the country. And they were to teams, I went back and looked, and they were to teams they shouldn't have lost to. They were non-conference games. They were things that should not have happened. And with that, and another one, my Kennesaw State one, if you saw that on Twitch, I made the college football playoff with 2 losses that were ugly losses. I had no quality wins. I went, one did win the conference championship, bounced back against Liberty after losing by 30 in the regular season, but still not good enough in theory to make the college football playoff. Things that are not realistic, and that was one of the things they promised was a realistic, immersive environment, and those are things that just need to be tweaked a little bit. The other one is actually gameplay related. There's some things that happen in the game that are very unrealistic. In particular, I have to find the gameplay, but in particular, in one game I had 4 roughing the kicker penalties in one half. 3 against the kicker and 1 against the punter. Those are things I was not, to be clear, I was not using that player that was running into it. That was the computer running into the kicker over and over and over and over again. I've had it happen numerous times, but in that game in particular, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, that is things that will never happen in real life. One player is not going to be dumb enough to run into the kicker that many times. So overall, it's great, but these are little things that need to be tweaked. Moving on, this is one that you're going to hear from a lot of people, but defense is very tough, and kicking is going to take lots of practice. If you're coming from Madden or even NCAA back in the day, and you're moving over to this game, it is going to be very difficult to stop them on defense. I talked about the speed of the game. We're going to talk about some tips in a later video, but the defense, starting out, I was giving up 50 points a game every game, and it didn't really matter the difficulty. There was one game in particular, off the rip, me and Will were doing our Heisman difficulty Dynasty, and I was giving up 60 points like it was nothing. There was just no way to tackle them or to stop them. There was always someone open. It didn't matter if you ran man or zone. Nothing worked. So I did find some workarounds, but that is one that is going to take some practice and getting used to. You're going to have to find some schemes that work. Kicking, that one is going to take a lot of practice. From years of playing Madden and just double tapping X, or just single tapping X and holding the meter, those things do not work in this game. If you just tap X and let go, you are going to make a bad kick. If you start over holding it, you're going to make bad kicks. It took me a lot of practice, a lot of missed field goals. Extra points aren't that bad. Kickoffs aren't that bad. But the 30 to 40-yard field goals that you should be making, those are things that take a lot of practice. And once you get the hang of it, it's rewarding. But at the same time, it's not going to be overnight. You're going to have to play quite a few games. and really work on it to get good at kicking. Next up is recruiting. This is something that if you watch any of my prior videos, you know was something that I was super excited to see how they did. Back in the day, you could use the recruiting cheese. They were talking about how they were going to fix that. So the first thing I wanted to look at was how was recruiting going to play. And I will be honest with you, recruiting is super rewarding in this game. It's something that it's frustrating when you lose the big fish you're going after, but when you land one of those big recruits, it is the most satisfying thing out of any of these sports games. You're chasing these guys, you're investing in these guys. It is a little tedious at first. It doesn't make sense at first, but there's a couple simple tips that once you do that and once you get the hang of it, you can recruit like nobody's business. I pulled, in my Kennesaw State one, I think I pulled a top 40 class. On my Coastal Carolina one, I pulled a top 40 class. And it wasn't 5 stars. I wasn't going after 5 stars. But I was finding guys that fit my system while chasing guys that were interested. Because of the dynamics of the different pitches, it makes it super rewarding, super challenging, and all around is not a huge time investment, but is a huge addition to the game. I'm going to close out this list with something that they hyped up a lot, and that was presentation. In my opinion, the presentation is great. I'd give it like a 9.3 out of 10. It's great. It's fresh. Some of the things, though, that are a knock, it took me a long time to realize you could skip the halftime talk where they're showing slow-mo clips, and it just takes forever. If you hold X, it fast forwards through that. That took me a little bit of practice because it doesn't show you that prompt on screen. But once I figured that out, it was a little more entertaining. There are some lines that I don't really like in the audio presentation that they repeat a lot. There's one in particular about being a no-gain man in a no-gain land or something. That one's super frustrating. I get it all the time, anytime I get tackled for a loss. So there's a couple that are repetitive that I would like to see slightly tweaked, but the National Game of the Week, getting the different announcers, that's awesome. I've only had that happen once, and that was a fresh change of pace. As far as presentation goes, this is kind of presentation, kind of gameplay, but the weather, I don't know what the settings are in the engine, but for whatever reason, I get a majority of rainy games. I get it rains places, but in Georgia, I have one in Georgia, one in South Carolina, and one in North Carolina. And it's like every other or every 3 games, I get a rainy game. It's like a little frustrating. I haven't seen snow. I haven't seen any of those other ones, which is fine. But I would like to see the weather a little more realistic versus it raining every single time. 33% of the chance. I don't know. I'm not a weatherman, but that does seem a little high. Overall, though, the presentation is awesome. The graphics are amazing. The visuals are great. I don't really use the side panel. They talked about that a lot, about what's happening in the standings. When I get into gameplay, I'm focused on the game. I'm not focused on the other stuff, but it is fresh to see that stuff there. The cut screens when you come out of a week getting your recruits, that one moves around. I don't love how smooth that is. It moves around. It'll start with showing you one thing, and then it'll cut to something else, and then you have to go back to see what you were looking at, and it happens fast without you controlling it. So little things like that, not my favorite, but overall, like I said, a low 9 score. They did a great job on the presentation. So there you have it, guys. Those are my key takeaways. A few things that I noticed, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't. Overall, though, I would give the game a great score. If you are on the fence about buying it, it is the best sports game I've played. Some of the things that have happened, as you'll see in my other videos, are the most entertained I've been by a sports game, or any game for that matter. It's well-rounded. They did a great job with it. Still needs some tweaks, but in today's world, you're never going to have a perfect game right out of the box. With that being said, keep an eye out. I'll be posting another video soon, within the next day or two, going over some simple tips and tricks to help you win some more games in your dynasties. With the gameplay being faster, the defense being tougher, it is a challenge. Don't jump on expecting to beat everybody like you did back in the day or like you do on Madden. You may do that, but you're not going to do that on All-American, and you're definitely not doing that on Heisman. So I'm going to come out with some tips and tricks that are going to help you beat your friends, or if you're playing by yourself, just have a better offline experience. With all that being said, though, I appreciate the support. The channel is doing great compared to my expectations. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the gridiron.